What kept you in the game? What kept you focused on the journey?
No, what kept me
Yeah,
focused?
yeah. You say some people go to the side, right? Maybe they have to work. Maybe their responsibilities. Who knows?
Yeah, I was always like very focused because that was my life, you know. Like, I was like, I was looking at jiu-jitsu and what I accomplished before that, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing pretty well, and I can have a decent living from jiu-jitsu. So why would I depart? It's a great lifestyle. It's better than anything else. So, and it's a great adventure on top of that. So let's just keep trying. And like at some point, I was like, I had this like talk with myself inside, and I'm like, well, maybe I will never be a world champion. It can happen, and you have to like at some point, especially when you're getting a little
Accept,
bit
yeah.
older,
Yeah.
you have to accept it that it may not happen, and you can't you can't think like this is the only ultimate thing you can achieve and there's nothing else. Like it's like with rock bands. Some rock bands they get so big and they're gonna fill up the stadium, but it doesn't mean there's no place for like a smaller bands, right? There's still like bands playing clubs and they're doing okay. They're doing really good. So sometimes you have to accept that you're not gonna be that big star filling up the stadium. Sometimes you're just like the one playing in the club, but it doesn't mean you don't have a fun along the ride. You have fun. So that was me. I was like, yeah, let's just keep going and see, if at some point I'm going to get to the age where I'm going to start feeling like, oh, I can't keep up with those young guys, then I'm going to, go to masters or retire entirely, and that'll be it, and if there's no world title, there's no world title. If we get one, that's awesome. And yeah, fortunately, we got one.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Many years I did a summer camp in Poland. And I learned a lot of things about Poland. One of the people are amazing, so friendly, and just very hospitable. And it was like by the North Sea in a lake,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I learned that has the most black belts per capita, like in Europe.
That-
Poland. It's true?
Yeah, that can be true. Yeah, we're pretty obsessed with jiu-jitsu because there's something about Polish people. We like combat sports in general. We like to fight, and I want to believe we're pretty tough people because of the history, not only like recent history, like world wars and being under like Soviet regime, which was like terrible for us. But even before, the history was always rough. We always been stuck in like between big powers in Europe, so we've been always like like rising to the top. And when we get like too powerful, the war was coming, and we're like like getting small, and we have to like stand our ground and fight back. So I think there's a lot of like into it that we like to fight, and we feel like pride in fighting and being tough. And yeah, like combat sports are big in Poland, and I feel like judo and wrestling had a time before, but if you think about it, there's no much opportunities for like older people. Like I mean older, like 30 years old. There's not many opportunities when you're like doing judo or wrestling, right? These are sports for young people in general. So if you
You,
start,
you grew up as a kid doing it.
yeah. If you start late, there's no career path for you. And jiu-jitsu is pretty different because we with all the belts levels and age levels, you can still compete and win stuff, win titles in your age division and your belt division. So you can feel accomplished. And jiu-jitsu is like there's way more pleasure in doing jiu-jitsu than wrestling and judo, I guess. Like, I never trained judo for like judo national team or wrestling for wrestling national team, but from a little bit that we got in jiu-jitsu, I can say that, well, like wrestling and judo are rough, like they're painful, and if the stand up game is the only thing you do, it's hard on body. Like how many times you can fall on the mats during one training, right? And judo probably like, I don't know, like 100
The whole
times.
practice, yeah.
Yeah. And in jiu-jitsu, how many times you're gonna fall to the mats? Like maybe two, three times during the practice. So it's way less painful and way more playful. And that's a big factor that keeps people in jiu-jitsu despite getting older.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, my daughter started wrestling, right? And so I've gotten totally into just that world, right? And I love the sport. I love like wrestling. I love judo as well.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But like nothing compares to the lifestyle that jiu-jitsu gives you.
Oh yeah, and yeah, it's a lifestyle that you can keep throughout your whole life, basically. And I believe that jiu-jitsu people, very often they're like the biggest fans of judo and wrestling,
Yep.
because I can say what I see in Poland, right? Wrestling in US is a different story, because you got college wrestling and there's like crowds coming to see the matches, but it's a little bit different in Poland. It feels like as soon as people who train hit certain age, they're just departing from the sport, and they they're not following the sport that much, like the way we see in jiu-jitsu. And like the big part of that is jiu-jitsu people are still active in a sport, so it's easier to follow. And what's more is jiu-jitsu is like, it's big on learning. We have like such a huge learning culture. And like I feel like wrestling competitors and coaches and judo competitors and coaches, they're taking benefit out of that as well, because we're so obsessed in every form of grappling that we're going to be craving that knowledge as well. Like, of course, once we get to jiu-jitsu, we're like all about the ground game, and then we're like, hey, what else we got there? Hey, it's a stand-up game, let's learn some. And like everybody, the whole grappling world is taking benefits out of our learning culture, and I feel it's great.
It's good for everybody, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.